Like, these people are so annoying. Do I just have such high standards, and for what I can get in London, I cannot afford that because London is just bloody expensive. You know, when there's a fly bothering you, you're just like, "Ugh, shoo away."
Hello everyone, my name is Lizzie. I'm a London-based multidisciplinary artist and welcome to episode 3 of my property buying journey. So today is all about viewings and oh my gosh. I thought viewings were supposed to be fun. I was supposed to be giddy, but for me, the viewings was the most stressful for me in all of this process. You know, that after part of trying to complete an exchange and all of that, for me that was plain sailing smooth. In fact, I was like, why does this usually take up to 12 weeks? This is going by like a breeze. But this part, finding a house, it has a number of rooms I would like. In fact, let me don't go too much into it right now. You're gonna see all of that for yourself. So typically, when you want to start going for viewings, right, you need to have a mortgage in principle, which then means you needed to already have a mortgage broker who is going to get you that mortgage in principle. So I'm gonna create a video, some episodes down where I'm going to talk about everything of what to look out for when you're getting a mortgage broker, a solicitor, tradesman, surveyor. I'm going to cover all of that in depth. But for now, I just want you to know that my mortgage broker, she was the biggest plug. And so I had spoken to some friends who I knew like a year prior or a couple of months that just bought their property just to get their own insights and get recommendations. So I spoke to a few people I was considering, but then this YouTuber who I've been watching for years and years, I was purchasing her second property. She literally dropped a video raving about her mortgage broker, and I was like, nah, this girl, I believe her recommendations because over the years she's recommended several things and people and services that I myself have gone to, and those people have been amazing. So I knew, she was saying, if she's saying Emma is the real deal, Emma is the real deal. So I booked in a call with Emma, and from that first conversation we had, I was just like, yeah, nah, this woman is a real plug. And because I found there were some similarities with the way I run my business and with the way Emma as well was sort of dealing with me. So from our first consultation, I already had a list of questions of things I wanted to ask her, and as we're just talking, having the conversation, she was just, without me having to ask, she was just saying all of those things, and I was just looking at my sheet. I was like, okay, answered. At the end, I was like, I really don't have much extra questions. You've answered everything I wanted to know, and that's sort of how I operate with my clients as well. When we're having a conversation during the call, and at the end, I'm like, "Do you have any questions?" They're like, "No, actually, you've answered it all." So that sort of level of detail, dedication, efficiency at your work, I was just like, "Yeah, this woman is good." And then further, when I needed to send some documents, so she would do some initial research in terms of getting me a mortgage in principle. And I sent an email and I wasn't expecting any reply until like a day later. But then at like around 7, she responded. I was like, oh, this woman is like me because as well, the way I run my business, if there's something quickly, I can just, I'm usually on my phone with my emails. If I can just reply my client, why am I going to wait till tomorrow? Like, I'm just here watching TV. Okay, I can just quickly answer their question and give them that peace of mind. So when she did that, and I'm not saying every business should run that way, right? Like, people have their working hours, fair enough. But people who can go over and beyond and are not strict and rigid and are going to ensure your stuff crosses the line in good time. Nah, that who doesn't want that, right? So I was like, oh, I love that. And then another time she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do some research over the weekend to make sure I get you the right person for my executive protection, which I'll talk about later. I was like, over the weekend? Nah, she was good anyway. Her details are down below. If you're in your process as well and you would like to use her, make sure you mention my name. You're gonna get a discount. I'm also gonna get a referral credit, and we both, we both get that benefit. So anyway, Emma was the plug, and now I'm gonna stop yapping and let you enjoy and maybe laugh and stress about about the whole process I went through as well. And so before I went out for my viewings, I had like a list of some of my must haves, and then some things were quite flexible. So, number one, it had to be a two bed. If it was a three bed, fine, well enough, but it had to be a two bed. Parking, I needed to have my own parking. I don't want to pay for no government parking because it can be £70 this year. In another 5 years, it will go up to 150 or 200 with the way the economy is going. And I'm like, hell no, am I purchasing a property and I can't park in front of my house? Like, UK is ridiculous. So anyway, parking was top on my priority. Um, Also, I wanted the bathroom and toilet to be upstairs. If it was just one bathroom, shower, toilet unit, ideally I wanted it upstairs where the room is, because my office is going to be up in my room. And if I work a lot from home, I don't want to have to be going down every time I want to use the toilet. So that was sort of quite important. Another important thing, the bathroom needed to have a window. And so, because I was moving from an apartment where there was no window in the bathroom, and I just have this thing about steam. When you shower and everywhere is steamy, I just feel like it's claustrophobic. And so I want a window where you can open the window, fresh air comes in, and especially like in the summer is amazing. So that was also important. Another thing that was important was good room size, because the rented place I was staying in, my room was a big room, big in London standards. I know if someone living in the US sees it, they'll be like, big? That's not big. But in London standards, my room was big, and so I didn't want to buy a property and then have to downsize my room. So that was also important to me. What else was important to me? Garden. It needed to have a good garden size. So in the future, if I wanted to do an extension, that would be possible. It also needed to be a walking distance to the station. And so those were sort of like the things that were criteria for me. And to me, I didn't think that was, too much. It wasn't too much of a high standard, right? But yeah, meeting those few basic criteria I had turned out to be challenging, turned out to be a nightmare. Oh my goodness. And so, anyway, my first viewing was in South London. So, like I hinted in one of my previous videos, I didn't have a particular place, area, or south, west, east, wherever in London I wanted to stay. My mom is based in the east. I've grown up in the east, but I was open to living in other parts. To be fair, I didn't really want to go west because I'm just like, that seems like, or like somewhere I'd never really, hung out a lot in. So it just didn't wasn't appealing to me. North, I don't know, but for some reason, whenever I think about North London, to me it might as well be in another country. Over in North London, it's just like, nah, I don't know what those people do, but I'm not going nowhere there. So really for me, it was either gonna be South London or back to East London. And so anyway, I tried to do was arrange lots of viewings on the same day so I could just go out, chunk it out, compare places as I start to see them as well, and just pick someone. And I thought, oh, that would be easy if I have like, these 4 5 places that look like what I would like. Hopefully, I go there, view them all, find something, and bang, I'm done. But yeah, I found out that's not how it works. Hello. So I'm coming to you. I'm on my way to a viewing, and what should be an exciting day is a subdued day. When people say the whole buying process is stressful, I always wonder, like, what goes on. And I've just had my first challenge. So yesterday, my mortgage broker tried to get my mortgage in principle, and it was immediately rejected. And that really, like, I guess, alerted her, because she said that was really strange. And for me, it's strange as well because I'm always on time with my payments. I never take credit. I'm not able to pay. I basically do everything according to the books. So why is it at the very moment I need my credit the most, it's gone awry? So anyway, she told me to go and check my profile to see what's going on.
My God, I've just come back from a viewing and I'm just like, London is ridiculous. Like, all these houses and the sort of prices they are going for is crazy. This place I just viewed, we need lots of work, like lots of exposed wires. Everything is old. The flooring, the ceilings have cracks. The windows are like very old school double glazing, so it's quite thin, and the wood, water pressure was not great at all. I think the only thing, the garden, oh my gosh, smallest garden, didn't look nice at all. The way it is, you're seeing your neighbors are overlooking you. Nah, definitely not spending my hard-earned money on that. The only thing I liked about it is that it had a reception room, which means I can sort of have a 3-bedroom. I don't particularly want a 3-bedroom, but I want another room I can make into like my studio and fitness room. So that's why I'm sort of looking at 3 beds, or if it's a 2-bed and then it has a reception room. But yeah, not pleased at all. Definitely not getting that one. So it's currently 7:30. I got home not too long ago. It's been a long ass day. Left the house around 9:40 a.m. this morning to the first property I viewed, and then I had the second property viewing at 1:30. In between that, I was arranging viewings for other properties, and some other people were getting back to me. I tried to arrange another viewing in between, but the agent has still not come back to me. Anyway, I had my third property viewing at 5:45 p.m. and so the big chunk in between 1:30 to like almost 6 p.m. I was just around in the area, went to like a restaurant. They had like sun sitting outside. The sun was amazing, beautiful, so I just stayed there and did some work. Whew. This is the part lots of people, I don't hear them saying about, I don't know, maybe I need to just narrow down my choices even much more. But today, I'm not pleased with the houses at all. I think the best so far was the first one I visited. The last one I just visited now, oh my gosh. So, fair enough, it did say on the listing it would need lots of modernization. Well, it said it would need modernization, but this is a whole 360 renovation that would have to take place in that property. But even getting there, as soon as I got there, I was just like, hell no, am I living in this area? It's just like a rundown area. It's just, yeah, the neighbors, I wasn't feeling the vibe at all. So there was no number on the door and I wasn't quite sure, and it looked like the back of the building. And so I looked on my map like, is this the back? I was like, no, this is the right place. So how do I get there? I'm not seeing any proper door. Anyway, there was a gap in between a door where I thought it could either be that house or at least the neighbor. And I could see a woman through the gap, and I sort of knocked on the board. She didn't even flinch, didn't even look at towards my direction. It was just like I was non-existent. And not to judge a book by the cover, but just the vibe I got and seeing how, just like, yeah, that's not a neighbor I would want to have. Anyway, I saw like a small alleyway, so at first I was like, oh, do I really want to go back there? But I was like, you know what, maybe that's the way to get to the front of the house. So I went through the alleyway anyway, and indeed it was. And that person's house I had sort of knocked on, the front of there says beware of dogs, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, not this sort of people that have all these threatening and warning signs. And so I was a bit worried to like walk past in front of theirs, because the sort of front I don't know if it's a porch or whatever you call it, was a bit open. I don't want no, aggressive dog jumping out and coming to get me. Anyway, I walked past and then I saw the right number for the house I was going to look for, and just horrible. Like lots of nonsense outside. And then just looking through, so the door was wide open. The agent was in there showing someone else. So they basically have like a 2 hour span where they're just, I think, getting lots of people in. And so just looking through, I was just like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to, get this place, but I'm here already. Let me just go through with it and not be rude, to just walk away. And so I went in, saw the kitchen, saw the floor. It was just horrible. There was a smell in the air, like really musty. And so I found out it was actually like currently being occupied by tenants, and the agent said they had been there for 10 years. So I think the landlord had just not bothered to update any single thing. Like the floors were a mess, everything was a mess. Every single one of them seemed to have a pet of a kind, lots of like pet cages. I could see the coat's hair on it. It was just like, you can have pets, but you can still be clean, right? It just made me feel like, oh, like I've gotten back home. I've had to like spray all of my clothes and they're going into the laundry because I just feel I don't want to bring nonsense back with me to my house. But apart from that, the only good thing about this property, and it beats every other house I viewed today, is the size, which is so, so, so unfortunate. Like the size is so much bigger than all the other properties I've seen. Like the living room is a good size, the reception room is a good size, it has 3 bedrooms upstairs. Good size considering what I've seen so far. But the house is just no go area. Okay, even if I say I renovate everything, update everything, which could bring the value of the property up, the area itself would not bring that value up because, like I said, the neighbors, looking through the gap and what I could see from their front porch as well, their houses are also run down. So even if I update and renovate this property and think maybe I can sell it in another 5 years, if every other person on that line doesn't update their property, who's gonna want to pay 400 plus K for somewhere like that? No one, because your neighbors are not bringing up the value of your street. So yeah, it would just be, and yeah, for the price they put on it, 375, I think that's just ridiculous and not worth it, just because of the state of the house and the neighborhood is not worth it to me. I'd rather move further out of London than to like put my hard-earned money into such a place just because it has 3 bedrooms and 2 receptions. I mean, for London, that's great in terms of the size, but the state of the property and just the neighbors. No way, no way. I can't see it. So I need to go back to the drawing board. I have Saturday packed with 3 other bookings, and the houses are not in that sort of disrepair. So I'm hoping something gives, but I'm just like, oh my gosh. I guess I'm gonna view, and I'm just not liking the places I'm seeing. So I'm like, do I just have such high standards, and for what I can get in London, I cannot afford that because London is just bloody expensive. And even though I'm going to be paying almost 400K, it's not just matching, right? The houses in that range are not wow as they should be, but they're expensive. So everyone wants top box. And I understand that you want to sell your house, you want to make a profit, you want to make money. But it's just too much for not much. So that's my dilemma now anyway. Back to the drawing board. Okay, so let me complete my story from earlier on. I just didn't have any opportunity to do it before now because everywhere has just been so noisy. Anyway, so I checked my credit history and used a profile that does multi-agency references, and I found out that what is causing an adverse, I guess, reaction on my credit history is Eon Next. Like, these people are so annoying. So I had an issue with them last year where when I moved to my property, the communication and how they were showing me my bills were just not properly done. And so it would come back to say, the government scheme we had last year was covering the bills. And so it wasn't showing I had anything to pay. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months down the line, I got given like a massive, huge bill, which I thought was ridiculous at the time, considering I used to pay electricity bills at home. Anyway, it was a back and forth with them, and there were some other issues, and I finally, took them to the ombudsman. And in between this period, they've now put on my credit history that I made payments late, and I'm like, well, if I have an ongoing case with you at the ombudsman, I'm not going to pay that bill, am I? I'm going to wait for that case to be like, a solution should be presented and then the case should be closed before I then go ahead and pay whatever bills is left. So that's what happened. And when the case closed, I paid my bill immediately. It was a huge sum because obviously it had been accruing for months. But I paid it off. And these people had the audacity to put that on my credit file. Anyway, when I saw that, I was just like, oh my gosh, for the last 17 years, ever since I've been a teenager, I've known like, your credit history is important. So I took out like a credit card right as soon as I was 18 and I got offered one by the bank I use. I only spend what I know I can pay in full. I never default. Like, I've never defaulted anything. And because of this silly, silly, silly electric people, now, a year later, you're coming to affect me. Anyway, I'm sounding peace now, but funnily enough, I don't know, there's just something about my spirit. I'm not as peace as I should be. There's just this sort of peace and calm I actually feel. And so when I found that yesterday, I was just like, oh, it just felt like such a nuisance, such a like discomfort. Like, when there's a fly bothering you and you're just like, oh, shoo away. You're just a nuisance. That's how I felt because now I'm like, oh, now I have to email them. No, I have to call them. I'm going to be on the phone on hold. I was just thinking about those things, but I don't know. My spirit is just calm and I just feel like, God's by my side. I feel strongly I'm going to get through this huddle, but it's just an annoying thing. And for me, someone who really plays by the books is like the moment I actually need, what I've been playing by the books for all these years, now I can't get it smoothly because of some silly electric company, acting a fool. Anyway, throughout yesterday night, even this morning, when I wake up and I pray and I meditate, I was just like, God, please help me. When I ring and call this morning, I put my alarm, I was going to call 9 a.m. sharp. So I get there, get to them first and not be on the phone on hold for ages. So just like, whoever picks up, please let them be sympathetic, let them be understanding, let them not want to tussle with me. I just felt this calm, but I just kept manifesting and just kept praying. Anyway, I got on the call and what an amazing woman actually picked. I was so happy. And she was just like, yes, I understand. And she was like, but I'm looking at your credit file. Everything looks good. Usually there'll be a banner on your account saying that, but I'm not saying anything. I was like, okay, so can you go back to last year, August, when that happened to see? And she was like, oh, she can't go that far back, but she's going to forward me to the credit team. And she was like, if you have the credit history report, you can send a screenshot to us because I don't see anything here. So anyway, I sent her an email with a screenshot of where, it's coming up on my profile that Eon Next are the only one that are like putting me in the red. And it's so annoying because on my credit history, you can just see my graph for the longest time has been high. And then after they put that nonsense, it just goes down. And now my score is low. And they also categorize it like the percentage hood of people defaulting payment. I was usually on the top, like only 8% likely. and now it's gone down to 25% likely to default payment. And I'm just like, but that's not me at all. I've never defaulted a payment. Even the Eon stuff wasn't me defaulting. It was me, challenging the ridiculous bills they had given to me. And then we were in a case. And as soon as that case was closed, I paid off. So I've never defaulted anything in my life. I do not take on credit. I do not buy things I cannot afford. Anyway, they're gonna get back to me and let me know, because I'm just like, they need to take that thing off of my credit history ASAP. In the meantime, my mortgage broker has said she's going to try other lenders and see. She said she would try and get me something, but it may likely then affect the amount I'm able to borrow, which just annoys me. So I don't want to borrow a lot, fair enough, and I've actually saved quite a substantial amount for my deposit, more than 10%. So I'm hoping that puts me in a good standing still. But it's always good to know what you can, if I see a property I really love and I can just put a bit more because it's just a bit expensive, I would like to have that ability to do that and not be capped because the lenders don't want to borrow me more money just because stupid Eon Next has decided to ruin my credit profile. Anyway, I still feel a calm, which is weird because usually I'll be nervous, I'll be a worrier, and then it's my brain that is like trying to rationalize and tell me to calm down. But this time around, my soul and my heart are at peace, and it's even my brain that is now saying, hey, why are you not worried? So this is my first challenge, and I'm really, well, I wouldn't say I'm really hoping. I know it is done. I know I am covered. I know I will get what I need to get and it would happen for me. But yeah, I just thought I would just share that this is one of the things that goes wrong during this process. And it's sort of like keeping me fingers crossed because, I need to know how much. I need to know a lender is willing to lend me. Otherwise, it's like I have all this money sitting in the bank, but no one wants to borrow me more money to get a property. It needs to happen because I don't want to rent for another year once my tenancy where I am right now ends, because I'm just like, with the amount I'm paying right now for my 3-bed apartment, I can be paying that amount for my own mortgage, right? Why should I be paying someone else's mortgage? And I'm at a position where I can afford to do that. So yeah, God willing, it shall happen.
So as you'd have just seen, those 3 houses which I showed, I mean, I did view more than three, but if not, this video is gonna be too long. But the 3 houses I showed were all in South London, and they were just not working. And to be honest, what in the price range. So what I did, right? Let me even just explain. So I go on Rightmove. I put obviously the budget, what I don't want to spend past my maximum budget. Puts like all the other filters and criteria, and then it just shows, and then you put a radius of how far you want it to go out. So I think I was putting a radius of 2 or whatever, because obviously I knew with my budget I can't afford central London. So I made it come out a bit, and then I would just look at all the houses in that radius that fitted the sort of places I was okay to stay in, looking at the distance, walking distance from the house to the station, because I, I've just always lived places where I can walk to the station. If it's 15 minutes, that's fine. I would walk. I don't want to be waiting for a bus that is not going to come or delayed or one thing or the other. So that was quite important to me. So that's what I was doing anyway. But when I was looking at the South London places, all of the houses that were within my budget just were not walking distance to the station. And so I immediately started to see, oh, I may have to compromise on this. And so I was like, okay, it's fine. Just go and view the place. If it's somewhere you love and everything fits what you want, and you just have to compromise that the walking distance to the station is not great, you just have to do that. And so I went to view those places. So I was always having to take a bus. And because the station had like the Elizabeth line, I was like, oh, okay, at least in a few minutes I'm in Liverpool Street. If I wanted to go to, Egypt, the Elizabeth line just goes to so many different places. You can go to Heathrow Airport. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a plus size as well. But anyway, as you can see in the comments I made, I was just not feeling those places. So the next place, I was like, okay, let's start looking at East London. Shebi, that's where you grew up. Go back to your roots.
Hi, so I'm just here. Today is Monday, the 13th of May, and I've got great news. After, that electricity provider that shall not be named tried to mess me up, I've got great news!